welcome back to another episode of 6 in 6, where we cover 6 stories from around the world in 6 minutes or less. With that said, start your timer. We open in South America, more specifically Colombia, where the COP16 conference is taking place. COP is the tip of the spear for international focus on climate issues and has the participation of over nearly 200 nations. From BBC, quote, "From October 21st until the 1st of November, delegates are meeting in Cali, Colombia, to take stock of national pledges and to protect nature, and amid concerns countries are backsliding on their promises. Recent analysis suggests most countries are set to miss the deadline to submit new national action plans for preserving nature. Key issues include the scale of ambition in meeting specific targets, financing for biodiversity projects in poor countries, and more," end quote. Though many countries have fallen short of their pledges so far, some activists see this as another opportunity to reorient the direction of participating nations. Next to Africa, where a plane has been shot down over the country of Sudan, apparently staffed by Russian nationals. This investigation is still ongoing and not all reports have been confirmed. But from Reuters, quote, "Officials from the RSF shared footage showing its troops standing around the burning wreckage of the plane, which they said had been shot down in Al-Mala, north of Al-Fashir, in early hours of Monday. In rare details on foreign involvement near front lines, the RSF also shared pictures purporting to show identity documents of 2 Russians they said were on board, along with 3 Sudanese army personnel. An RSF source later said the aircraft was just a liaison transport plane used to carry out airdrops of weapons, munitions, and provisions for Al-Fashir. Across the Atlantic, in Mexico, a prominent and persistent human rights campaigner has been killed. Reports indicate that he has been killed for his outspoken indignation about the cartel activity in the area. From BBC, quote, "Father Marcelo had campaigned tirelessly against drug trafficking in Chiapas." Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the region's name, which has seen a surge in violence in recent years linked to turf wars between rival cartels. Mexico's Bishops' Conference said the murders had silenced a prophetic voice who had worked tirelessly for peace and justice. According to the Chiapas Public Prosecutor's Office, his suspected killer has been identified using security camera footage, witness testimony, and other leads, AFP news agency reports, end quote. At Father Marcelo's funeral, many gathered and began calling him the, quote, "priest of the poor," and the investigation into his death is still ongoing. Next, we come to Singapore, where the firm Capel wants to expand its reach into the data center sector. From Reuters, Capel already have access to power, technological understanding, strong customer relations with hyperscalers, large-scale computing service providers, as well as multiple pools of capital to expand its data center power capacity. The company has a portfolio of 35 data centers across key data hubs in Asia, in the Asia Pacific, and in Europe. They intend to increase their investment to a whopping 19 billion Singaporean dollars. To the south, in Australia, a protester has been arrested after his attempts to yell as King Charles visited the city of Sydney. From BBC, quote, "Mr. Warden had shouted, 'He's not my king,' echoing the words of independent Senator Linda Thorpe on the day before. The crowd waiting for the royals, many clutching Australian flags, shouted back, 'God save the king.' Mr. Warden had also protested outside the church service the royals attended on Sunday. Thorpe's protests had been praised by some Indigenous activists as brave, but condemned by other prominent Aboriginal Australians as embarrassing and disrespectful," end quote. King Charles had received mixed signals throughout his travels in the country. Some embraced the new monarch, while others rejected him. Finally, to Europe, where McKinsey report has indicated that the continent will experience an explosion in energy consumption due to data centers. From Reuters, quote, "In Europe, the European Union, Norway, Switzerland, Britain, the total IT load demand for data centers in the region is expected to grow around 35 gigawatts gigawatts by 2030 from 10 gigawatts today, according to the McKinsey report. Data centers are expected to account for around 5% of total European consumption in the next 6 years compared to 2% today. Meeting data center demand will require at least $250 to $300 billion in data center infrastructure investment, including power generation capacity, the report added, end quote. And if you want to check out any of today's articles, they will all be linked in the description below that like and subscribe button. Also down there, you can find the podcast normally in those RSS feeds. So, your Spotify's, your Podvines, your Pocket Cast. And also, if you want to listen to the normal podcast on YouTube, if you're listening here, you can come back on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you want to listen to the Twitter tirade, that comes out every Tuesday and Thursday over at the Twitter handle @YourDailyFlip. It's a little bit off the top of the head, just kind of rambling compared to some of these things that are more news oriented. And with all that said, there's only one more thing to say. Stay safe, don't die.